Well, hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's been a minute, but we're here to talk about the upcoming year of 2022. And I've made a past video about, I think it was like the rising divine feminine through numerology, where I talk about the year 2022. I talk about basically all of the upcoming years from that video onwards, and how the numerology is going to represent the rising of the divine feminine, which is, boop, it's here. 2022 is, at least marks the beginning of the rise of the divine feminine. And why do I say that? Because 2022, when you add it up in numerology, it is a 6 year, and 6 represents stability, harmony, love. It is ruled by the planet Venus. Venus represents femininity. It is the ultimate feminine sign. It represents love, money, relationships, all beautiful, sensual, flowy things. And so the year 2022 is going to be a milestone and basically the beginning of the rise of the divine feminine. And it's going to be an increase in our empathy. There's going to be an increase in our emotional being. There's going to be an increase in our artistic abilities and the way that we express ourselves. We may notice that we may be able to express ourselves more freely and more openly in things such as art and music and through song and dance. So these are definitely going to be coming up in the forefront. We are going to have an increase in our relationships. We're going to notice that we want to be in love and we want to feel closer to people. We want to build relationships with people. We want to build that stability. We want to build that security. Now, not only that, but we are having Jupiter entering the sign of Pisces. It's actually going to be entering the sign of Pisces right at the end of 2021. It's going to be happening on December 29th, which is the day after me filming this video. And we're going to have Jupiter entering the sign of Pisces. And now, why a lot of astrologers are super happy and excited about this is because Jupiter is at home in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is ruled by 2 planets, and one of them is Jupiter, the other one is Neptune. Jupiter is the traditional ruler, and Neptune is the modern ruler, because once Neptune was discovered, they're like, well, we have to give this planet to a sign, so they gave it to Pisces. So Pisces has 2. There's a couple other signs that also have 2 planets, but that's not the point of this video. What exactly does Jupiter in Pisces represent? Jupiter is usually the planet of expansion. It is known as the teacher, it is the guru, it is very spiritual. It is the god of the gods, basically. That is the energy of Jupiter. It expands anything that it touches. It doesn't care if it's too much, because nothing is too much for a god. So that is Jupiter energy. And entering into the sign of Pisces, what does Pisces represent? Pisces is a very emotional, intuitive, very feminine sign. Okay, it's very linked to the spiritual realm. It is all about meditation, spiritual practices, getting in line with your highest self and your highest purpose, walking in line with that purpose and with that highest self. And so throughout the year of 2022, especially through the beginning, and I want to say more so, I have my notes down here, so that's why I'm flipping pages, but in April and in May, this especially is going to be a very prominent time for us, because we're also going to have Venus entering into the sign of Pisces. We're going to have a lot of Pisces energy in this time, and so we may have a little bit more intuitive abilities. We may notice that we are a lot more devoted to our spiritual practice. We are becoming, I don't want to say enlightened, because that's a very big word, and it's a very, people just throw it around, and I don't think anyone really knows what that means, but it's the energy of feeling like you're connected with everything and everything is one. Very empathic, very receptive. You can feel all of the energies around you, and you can make actions and take actions based off of the vibes that you're getting. That is the Pisces energy. What else is a part of Pisces energy? So another thing to note, because not everything is all positive, there's also a little bit of negative. And well, I don't want to say negative, but there's always, there's a good and there's a bad, there's a light and there's a dark. So the dark side to Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces is that sometimes we may overindulge in our emotions. Pisces can get really, really carried away in their emotions. Since they feel so much, it can be overwhelming. And they can easily get into states of depression and anxiety and fear of the world, and can have very victim-like mentality, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I here? I don't even want to be on this planet anymore. That can kind of take over as well, because once again, Jupiter expands. And having so many emotions, especially for certain signs that already have a lot of emotions, like Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, all the other water signs, you know, it can be, I don't want to say it's a difficult time, because there's so many other positive things that, you know, will be happening congruently. But if you do manage to get into that dark downward spiral that is possible for Pisces, there are ways to get out of it, and I will go through it right now, ways to ground Pisces energy. But that is a little bit more like that is a possibility of happening for a couple more people this time, especially with Jupiter entering the sign of Pisces for 2022. What else do we also have? Pisces can also rule health, and I've done a little bit of case studies because I like to look in the past to see what has happened in the past when Jupiter was also in the sign of Pisces. Now, of course, you can't really take that as face value, because just because Jupiter was in the sign of Pisces doesn't mean that all the other planets are doing the exact same thing also. So there's a lot of things a lot of factors you can't really control for, but a couple of things that I noticed that fall in line with what Jupiter and Pisces represents, and that happened in the past on a collective level, is in 2010, we had the Affordable Healthcare Act, which went into effect. It was signed into law. And that basically made affordable healthcare available for everybody. So it's a way of making sure everybody has access to healthcare and everyone can, you know, feel healthy. That's definitely a Jupiter and Pisces thing, because Jupiter rules making sure everyone's healthy, everyone's okay. Like, how are we taking care of everybody, you know? And once again, Pisces does rule health. So we may notice that there might be certain things, or certain things become implemented, or certain things concerning our health may come up that concern everybody globally. And I know, like, what more, because we just went through this whole pandemic thing, and we're still going through it. There's still a lot of chaos kind of surrounding that, but I do feel like there's going to be a little bit more harmony, a little bit more stability that comes in with this next year concerning that. Something that, I don't want to say regulation, because Pisces isn't necessarily about rules and regulation, and neither is Jupiter. It doesn't really like rules and regulations, but it's being able to see like all sides and being able to include everybody to make sure everybody is okay, you know, and making sure everybody feels good. So another couple of things that I found in the past that relate to Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces that maybe aren't so positive, but they do fall in line with Jupiter being in Pisces, is in 1986, there was mad cow disease outbreak, which was like the first time it's ever happened. And so that basically affected the food supply. And this was this new disease that everyone's like, what? You can get this disease from this animal, like from eating the what? This is crazy. And so that came out, freaked people out. There was a huge, I guess, like on a worldwide scale, everyone was now afraid of this mad cow disease. Not only that, but you also had the Chernobyl disaster, which basically was a nuclear reactor accident, and they had to shut down a whole area, a whole city, because you can no longer live there. You can't even walk there, because if not, you get exposed to radioactive materials and you can put yourself at a health risk. Pisces rules things like solitude. Pisces rules things like hospitals, prisons, mental institutions. It also rules things like spiritual retreats, basically like doing things in solitude. So yes, even though we do have this Venusian energy of wanting to connect with people and wanting to be in relationship with people, I feel like the relationships and connections that we make with people are going to be very, very close knit. They're going to be very close to like where we are, you know. And if not, there's going to be there's still going to be that continued push to like keeping people separated, just because once again Pisces can sometimes lead to doing things alone and solitude, and like excluding, not necessarily excluding people, but just being like, this, you have to go here because it's dangerous for other people if you're not here, basically. Like, that's what prisons are, that's what mental health institute, even though I don't agree with them, but that's essentially like what they're there for, right? It's basically like taking out certain people from society because they're creating harm for other people. We may notice an increase of that mentality in 2022, which seems a little weird because that kind of goes against the whole like we are one, we love each other type of thing with Pisces. So there is that little bit of a clash that's going on. Jupiter isn't going to be in the sign of Pisces for all of 2022. Actually, Jupiter is going to be zooming through the sign of Pisces, and it's going to actually go into the sign of Aries on May 25th. And it's going to stay in the sign of Aries up until October 28th, where it will then go retrograde back into the sign of Pisces. So we are going to experience, like I said, all the things that I said earlier in this video about like heightened emotions and being super empathetic and intuitive, and our dreams are going to be a lot more vivid, especially for people with a lot of water signs already in their chart, like once again, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You may notice your dreams are a lot more vivid, but in general, everybody is going to have the ability to feel into things a little bit more. We're going to have the ability to really connect with other people on an energetic level, not so much like a physical level. Pisces is all about the unseen. It's about the spiritual. It's about connecting in ways that are outside of the physical. It's very out of body type of experience. So we may notice that our dreams we do have a possibility of going lucid, of having very vivid dreams. Astral projection might be a big thing that decides, even though like people already know about it, but that might be like a huge thing that people start getting into again. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that since, once again, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but since Jupiter is the teacher, guru type of energy, you may notice during the year of 2022, someone or a certain group of people rise up and become a sort of guru or like master, or they're preaching some sort of belief that other people are following along because they really resonate with it and they really believe in it and they feel like it's going to help everybody. And so you may notice a couple of like figures that pop up, or not even, maybe not even figures, but certain belief systems that come up that a lot of people are starting to adopt, that take into account the collective, a certain belief system that kind of encompasses making sure everybody is good and like feeling safe and feeling loved and cared for by the collective, right? So all of that is possible with Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces. Not only is Jupiter going to be in the sign of Pisces, but we're having another major shift in 2022 of the North Node going into the sign of Taurus. Now, what does that mean? Whenever North Node shifts into signs, that means the eclipses and where we have our eclipses are going to be changing. We've recently had, in the past year and a half, we've had the eclipses happening on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. Now, what that would represent, which is how we saw it play out, is that since Sagittarius is where the South Node is, that's where we're removing things. That's where we're excreting, basically, things from our life. And Sagittarius rules things like freedom. It rules things like long-distance travel. It rules things like higher education. And so we have noticed that there has been a huge restriction in the past year and a half of our freedoms, of our long distance travel, and even obtaining higher education, because you can't go to these institutions, you can't be close to people anymore. A lot of it's virtual, a lot of it's online. And the reason why everything's so virtual and we're making such a push to making things so virtual and so online is because the North Node was in the sign of Gemini for the past year and a half. And so Gemini rules things like technology. It rules things like social media, like working in your community, working very locally, very much from home, from your own neighborhood type of thing. Like being very close and being very connected to your neighborhood and to your city and like what's local to you, and not necessarily what's out there. And so that was a big major a theme for us for the past year and a half. Now the North Node is shifting signs. It's moving into the sign of Taurus, and the South Node is going to be in the sign of Scorpio. So what this means is that we're going to have a big increase in things that have to do with money, in things that have to do as money concerning technology as well, because we have Uranus also in the sign of Taurus, and Uranus rules technology. It rules scientific innovation. It rules forward thinking. Think of Elon Musk. That's basically like very Uranus type of energy, Albert Einstein type of energy, like kind of like mad scientist, very visionary, very like I'm seeing 10 years ahead of you guys type of thing, right? And so we're having the North Node actually moving through the sign of Taurus where Uranus has been placed for the past couple of years. And so it's going to be bringing like a huge flashlight, because we're going to be having these eclipses happening with Uranus in there. So there's going to be huge advancements in our technology, especially I feel like our currency is going to be making a huge push towards the digital. Also our food supply, because Taurus rules food and the way that we get our food, and basically the money that we make from our food as well. Our food is going to be starting to go, I don't want to say more digital, but more scientific. So we may notice that our food is going to be more so like created in a lab and not necessarily super organic, because things that are like more from the earth and super organic is more like Virgo type of energy, although Taurus can be it as well. But since we have this Uranus energy that's been in the sign of Taurus kind of affecting that, we are going to be noticing a push towards our food being a little bit more scientific, made in a lab, just because they're gonna market it as a way for it to be more health conscious, not more health conscious, but more climate conscious. That was the word I was looking for. So people are gonna be a lot more concerned with climate change and stuff like that, and we're gonna be figuring out ways to fix our food, because we notice that the way that we're making our food, the way that all the land that we're using for farming and stuff like that is having a huge impact on our climate. And so they're going to be doing a huge push towards making that a lot more scientific, made in a lab. That way you're not using the animals, you're not killing the animals, you're not using that much land. And so as technology speeds up and increases, that may be more of like the food of the future. Not only that, we may be noticing a lot of companies and a lot of basically higher ups doing things just to make more money. Like it's gonna be very, very, very money driven. Not so much since Jupiter is gonna be in the sign of Pisces, there is gonna be certain people caring about like, okay, how does this affect everybody? You know, like not how do I only make money and not care about anybody? It's gonna care a little bit about people, but as Jupiter moves into the sign of Aries, which is gonna be May 25th to October 28th, we may notice that certain companies and certain powers that be are doing things strictly based off of money, not really caring about how it affects other people. So keep an eye out for that. What else can I talk about so since the North Node is being in the sign of Taurus, Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. So once again, Venus is very, very prevalent in this upcoming year. And so the months April and May are gonna have Venus being in the sign of Pisces. It's gonna be a very nice month for love and relationships. However, since Jupiter is going to be in the sign of Pisces and Venus is going to be there as well, Neptune is also in the sign of Pisces, and Neptune rules illusions and delusions and not seeing things clearly. So we have to keep that in mind. We may be overly giving, overly loving, seeing things with such a huge heart, rose-colored glasses. And once Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries, we might have a little bit of a reality check. So keep that in mind. Once again, being in the sign of Pisces, Jupiter being in the sign of Pisces, there may be an overindulgence in drugs and alcohol. And this is because of that escapist mentality that Pisces has. Pisces sometimes it gets too much. Like the reality gets too much, and so they want to escape, and so they resort to drugs and alcohol. There may be an increase in cases of alcohol abuse, drug abuse in, you know, the world at large. I think we're already starting to see it happen in the United States. So, I mean, it's always been an issue, but that might be more of like an issue that becomes a little bit more prevalent now, especially with everything that's going on with the pandemic. I know it's getting a lot for some people, and once again, Jupiter in Pisces is going to increase our emotions. It's going to increase the way that we receive information. We're going to feel things on a much deeper level, and it may be hard for a lot of people to really grasp and deal with, and so they may resort to drugs and alcohol in order to deal with that. Now, certain practices that you can do during this time, during the next year of 2022, that may help you ground and may help you feel a little bit better and use this Jupiter in Pisces energy to your advantage. A couple things I wrote down. Grounding. Why do I say grounding? Because Pisces rules the feet, and grounding helps you basically center yourself with the energy and the frequency of the earth and with nature. And so by taking off your shoes, taking off your socks, and walking barefoot on the ground, not like the street or something where there might be glass and things that can hurt you, but like, you know, on the grass or in the sand if you're on the beach or on a mountain, anywhere that you know it's safe for you to walk barefoot and you're not going to get hurt, do that. Do grounding techniques, do grounding exercises. Whenever you start feeling like it's a little too much, do that. Meditation is going to be huge coming in 2022. A lot of people are going to be getting into their meditation practice, gratitude practices, things involving water, being in water, so swimming, all right, taking salt baths, being in the ocean, especially because Pisces is very much about the ocean. So salt baths, salt helps basically recalibrate you. Being in the ocean has a lot of negative ions, which help once again with your energy. Pisces is all about restoring the energetic body. So we're going to be doing a lot of practices to restore our energetic and our spiritual bodies. What else? Singing, dancing, a lot of flowy type of movement, exercises, right? So things like ballet, dance, singing, painting, drawing, very type of feminine, but anyone can do it just because they're feminine type of, or stereotypical feminine things doesn't necessarily mean that a man can't do them. No, everyone should be tapping into their feminine side and harnessing this energy. There's a lot of feminine energy to tap into this year, and it'd be really great if everybody, male or female, whatever you identify as, or if you don't identify, but to take in this type of energy, this flowy energy, this energy that is open and receptive to love, this energy that is very sensual and sexual and loving and open. And so that's basically a summary of 2022. There's going to be a couple other aspects happening, but those are the major themes. Those are the major things that we could be expecting for the next year. And I really hope that you guys found this helpful. I'm sorry, I know this video is a little long, but I mean, it's a whole year ahead video. So once again, I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.